In this video, I'm going to share with you the 7 most ridiculous things that parents will do that ruin their kids' baseball career. Before we begin, I have 7 years of professional baseball experience under my belt. I also played 3 years of D1 baseball at NC State University while studying aerospace engineering. I've also trained over 200 athletes inside my Mendoza Baseball Academy, which is 100% remote. And every single year, I see players lose chances because of the parents' mistakes. You'll definitely want to stick around to the end because number 7 is the hardest to fix. But if you catch it early, it's a game changer. All right, starting with number 1, and probably the most important, is being too hands-on. And I can imagine a lot of parents feel this even themselves, especially in the high school baseball recruiting process, for example, they feel like they are doing their son a favor by researching colleges, reaching out to college coaches, maybe even enrolling their son into a camp or a showcase without their son even knowing. And this hands-on activity, there's no reason that it has to be that way, right? Because ultimately we want the player to be self-driven into wanting to do these certain activities. But of course, you are a parent, and I'm not going to say that it's the wrong thing to do. It's just how involved are we truly going to be throughout high school, throughout college? Okay, your son is a professional baseball player in the big leagues. How hands-on are you truly going to be in this whole journey, right? So we have to think about at what stage should we let our sons ultimately spread their wings and fly on their own, or so to speak, take the training wheels off. And if your son's in high school, he's a teenager, maybe he's even able to drive, this should be an alarming moment, maybe a flipping of the page where your son has the responsibility and possibly the accountability to do these things on his own. And if he doesn't, holding his hand through the process might not help. All right, number 2, chasing exposure too early. All right, and I see this way too often, is trying to get that exposure way too early. Is exposure like in 7th grade and 6th grade, it doesn't need to be that early, right? We want to make sure that that exposure is showing to these college coaches as we're approaching high school. And even the 8th graders that do join into my academy, because I do have a hard cutoff on 8th graders and older to work with me inside my Mendoza Baseball Academy with the triple play. That exposure, really, we want to start generating it around 8th, 9th grade, because college coaches, without a doubt, and this is coming directly from conversations that I've had with D1 coaches at the Power 4 schools, is they understand the pipeline, what's to come, right? They don't only just focus on the players that are recruitable that year. Of course, they're going to have a primary focus, but they understand also who's in the pipeline and who's approaching that date of high school eligibility, so to speak. It's that August 1st date that a lot of you guys have probably heard of. I've made videos on August 1st and the importance of that, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. So chasing that exposure too early, and ultimately what we want to do here is focus on that development side of things. That development is very, very important. And if you guys don't know what development is, physical development, mental development, that development into building out a routine, maybe that mental fortitude to make sure that we're able to overcome certain struggles in the game of baseball, which is going to happen. So these are all aspects, getting after it in the gym, skill development as a whole. What in professional baseball it's called player development. We're ultimately trying to develop the assets from the organizational standpoint. We are assets, and we're trying to get developed into top tier talent. Another aspect of this exposure that I think a lot of people fall into the trap of is these showcases and everything. It is expensive, and a lot of the times they overpromise and under-deliver. And sometimes these camps or showcase, they're really just filling roster spots, promising the world, promising a chance to get recruited and things like that. And a lot of the time they could be potentially a money grab. So you have to be careful on the right ones that you're going to, because ultimately that is part of the strategy in the whole college recruiting process. Again, if you as the parent are chasing that exposure and your son isn't physically developing, that's where we have that flipped upside down. All right, number 3, the blame game. And this is more or less the aspect to the coaches. All right, because what we're doing when we're doing the blame game, we're blaming these coaches, is we're showing a lack of accountability, because that accountability, it needs to be there. We need to be able to point the finger inwards and saying, hey, it's my fault. And yes, if you're a parent listening to this, you don't want to be saying it's my fault, but I mean, in a sense, yes, but we want to teach our sons to be able to say, hey, it's my fault we didn't get this defensive strategy completed. It was my fault I was the second baseman that didn't cover first on the bunt. It's my fault that I didn't make a good, accurate throw to the first baseman and it cost our team the game. Like, it's okay to point the finger inward, because once we point that finger outward and say, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's that person's fault, it's that person, we're losing all the power. And ultimately, we want to be teaching leaders and future leaders in the next generation. And if we're not able to hold that accountability within ourselves, we are admitting that we are powerless, and this is not the right habits, in my opinion, that we want to be teaching the younger generation of, elite baseball players. Another aspect of this blame game is college coaches will see this from miles away, and they will hear stories from travel ball coaches, high school coaches. Oh yeah, that kid, he always has an excuse why he's late. He's not getting the reps in. He's not doing this. He's not aware of this. He's not engaged. There's always an excuse with that kid, right? Those things are going to be heard from miles away. Now, if you want help in your son's high school baseball journey, check out the Triple Play down below in the description. Go ahead and click that link in the description of this YouTube video to see how our program works. All right, number 4, skipping strength and speed training. All right, so ultimately, as baseball players, we can't just be doing hitting drills left and right, and that's all we're doing, because that's going to focus on, again, the physical development of a specific skill, but not just our overall athleticism in that player development on the physical aspect. So if we just skip that physical development, we skip the strength building, the explosiveness, the plyometrics, that's a great way to do that. But then also on the speed side, a lot of people neglect the speed and just think running 4 miles a day is going to be enough. And I had a conversation with a student athlete in high school, and they're looking to increase their quick twitch muscles. They're trying to increase their 60-yard dash time, or decrease, I should say. They're trying to get better on defense with just overall quickness. But on the flip side, they're running miles and miles each and every day. And that's, of course, going to build up that stamina, and that's all great, but are we really teaching our muscles to be quick if we're running 4 miles, which might take, 40 minutes, right? That's not the right route that we want to take if we're trying to increase that speed. So a lot of people will skip the strength or the speed, or vice versa, and ultimately this is an area of that physical development that we need to have top of mind so we're not making these mistakes in the high school baseball process. All right, next up, number 5, prioritizing winning over development. And this might string a couple of comments down below, but this is where we really want to make sure that our players are developing. And especially in travel baseball, we get this huge amount of parents thinking that playing is the best way for their sons to become a big leaguer. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is something that we kind of fell into the trap of as well. Me and my family, my parents, we played a lot of baseball games in the highly competitive, South Florida region. And, we had great competition. We had every reason to play baseball year round. We had great weather. We were in a great climate and, great competition. Travel ball tournaments were maybe an hour away. We had every reason to play travel ball just consistently year round every single year until I graduated high school. The thing is, though, when I got to Sarasota High School, my sophomore year of high school, there was an area scout. It was actually the son of our head coach, and he mentioned you should take at least 3-4 months off from baseball every single year to focus on your true development. Again, this is the strength, the speed. So we're not skipping that. And guys, yeah, winning a tournament's cool. Getting a ring, it's awesome. But what are we trying to really accomplish? Are we trying to win a tournament just so we can tell other parents how great our team is and that we're on the nationally ranked program? Like, those things are cool. In my opinion, like, junior year of high school is the time that you really want to be on a great team, especially in travel ball. But are we ever focusing, again, on that development? Right? Are we increasing our skills up and to the right? Because that's what we want to be doing in our weight, how much we're bench pressing, how much we're squatting, deadlifting, these athletic movements, maybe like our 5-10-5 or our 60-yard dash. These are things that we need to be seeing some level of improvement. Another huge aspect is ignoring the mental side of the game. Guys, there's failure left and right. That is part of baseball. You are designed to fail in the game of baseball more times than you're going to succeed. So if we're not ever focusing on these mental frameworks to overcome some of these struggles, what do you think is going to happen when we get to varsity baseball and the pitchers are throwing harder? What do you think is going to happen when we play D1 baseball and the guys are constantly in the low to mid 90s? What do you think is going to happen when we graduate from college and play professional baseball in the minor leagues when we're facing Dominicans who are throwing 98 with movement? What do you think is going to happen at the big league level when we're talking about jobs? And nobody wants their lunch money to be stolen from another player, and that's ultimately the dynamic. If there's a pitcher out there on the mound, they're trying to steal your lunch money because, let's be honest, once you get demoted back to AAA and you're in the minor leagues, you don't make as much money, right? So like that's a huge aspect of the big leagues. The competitiveness is at an all-time high. How are we going to mentally prepare for these things if we are completely ignoring the mental side? So this is more or less on the parents to emphasize like, hey, what are we doing to increase that mental capabilities? And this is something that when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals and San Diego Padres, we had mental strength coaches because we had resources available to us left and right, because this is a real thing, guys. And if we're just ignoring it or we're neglecting it, we're only focusing on half of the equation. It's not the equation that ultimately we need each and every day to play this game for a long time. And last but not least, and like I said, guys, the last one is probably the hardest to fix if you've already taken this step and if you're already making this mistake, but talking, and I'll go slow on this one, talking to college coaches for your player. If you are doing the communicating for your son, be aware that college coaches do not want this dynamic. College coaches do not want a mommy or a daddy to be heavily involved in the player's journey, especially as they graduate high school into college. Because what is that going to typically turn into? Typically it's going to turn into mommy and daddy sticking around, thinking that they have to be intermingling with the coaches, maybe the politics that you're facing in high school. Guys, the difference between high school and college is politics isn't a thing anymore. We're trying to win baseball games at the college level. You have to be a great player to be on that roster and to be in the starting lineup. You're not going to get playing time in college if mommy and daddy advocate for little Johnny, right? That's not going to be the case. In professional baseball, and by the way, guys, I've heard this way too many times from college athletes or parents of college athletes. What can we do as parents to help little Johnny, who's a sophomore in college? What can we do to help him get drafted? And like, I kind of smile because there's absolutely nothing other than performing and being the best player that you can possibly be. Yes, there's going to be the Ken Griffey Jr.'s sons or the Manny Ramirez's sons, right? Yeah, great. But we don't want to classify into even that category, right? We want to put ourselves in the best situation for our sons to have the best success. And the way that we do that is for him to be the best player. So prioritizing, again, the strength, the speed, making sure that he's focusing on that development, not ignoring the mental side. These are the things that ultimately, you can be super involved in your son's journey, but who's the one actually stepping into the box? Now, if you want to learn how to build a highlight video for college baseball recruiting in 2025, make sure to check out this video on the screen right now.